Hi, I'm Joy. I'm 33 this year, and I'm originally was born in China. I grew up in Canada, and now I've been living in Singapore for the past 7.5 years. Okay, my growing up journey is a little bit convoluted. So I was born in China, but my parents went to postgrad in Japan at the time. So I actually went to live with them in Japan for a year and did my kindergarten there. But eventually was sent back to China to continue my studies because back then Japan wasn't the most friendliest to outsiders. And then when I was 9 years old, my whole family moved to Canada. So that's where I essentially grew up for most part of my life. I went to school there, I went to university there. And then after university, I kind of made the decision, like, where do I want to go next? I think that part, of course, there's financial, stuff involved too, because I had student loans from my university years and I paid them off before I had the opportunity to make a decision like this. So I chose the cities that I wanted to move to based off of where I would enjoy myself the most. And that was New York, Hong Kong, and maybe Singapore. At the time, New York and Hong Kong were definitely my top choices. So I just ended up applying to all the jobs that I can there, super cold calling and, cold emailing and all that, and then somehow landed a job in Singapore. I think growing up, I've always thought that science was the path for me. So actually I went to university for biomedical sciences and hoping to become a doctor or a dentist or one of those things. But eventually it didn't work out because I just didn't feel like it was the right profession for me. And I realized there was a lot more other occupations that outside of what I've known. So I think I didn't know it until university, and that opened my eye to the world. And I think from that experience, I realized I wanted to live life to the fullest. And that kind of got me thinking I don't have a lot of time. Well, I do have a lot of time, but my 20s are probably the most time where I have a lot of energy. I should just explore all I want to and go to different places and then try out different things, especially since science didn't work out for me. So this is now the time to try, right? Before I need to settle down or start a family. So I think that's how I kind of based it off of. Also because those cities, I'm definitely a city girl. Growing up in the suburbs, I realized I gravitate more towards downtown life, hustle and bustle life. So I really, really enjoy those cities. Whenever I visit, I get inspired. So naturally, I just felt like a pull towards those cities. Yeah, I think partly because growing up in suburbs, it's very boring. I think I want to go somewhere with more exciting, with hustle and bustle life. And I felt like there was a lot of opportunities in those cities too. I could thrive in those cities, like what you mentioned. So, but I don't know whether I'll survive. Maybe I'll thrive, maybe I'll survive, who knows? But generally, I think the cities are exciting, the ones I chose, and it's more of the metropolitan cities between Asia and North America, like Hong Kong, Singapore, and then versus New York. So it was either going back to my Asian roots and heritage, which I was kind of keen to explore more of at the time, or going into more Western kind of mindset or culture. Well, firstly, my parents are usually, it's funny, they brought me from Asia to North America to experience the North American, house life. And funny enough, I was like, I want to go back to Asia. So of course to them, they were very confused and why am I doing such things? They did try to convince me to stay and work a decent job in Vancouver. But I knew if I had this opportunity, I should just take it because I do like to live life with no regrets. And I try not to look back on the past as well in life. So I told them, I'm just going to go, you can't stop me. And I think throughout growing up, I've always been a rebellious child. So they know that they can't really control me or stop me. They can give me warnings, but ultimately they will also let me do what I want to do. So yeah. Oh yeah, I think my mom, though now I appreciate what she did for me, but back then I would say that she wanted me to be the typical, very studious girl, very proper, and honestly I was a hot mess, even from a young age. I'm not the most, introverted, quiet girl. I'm very opinionated. I'm very loud sometimes. And I just have a lot of expressions in my face. And then she did not like that. So I think growing up, she was probably my biggest critique and always trying to mold me in a certain way. I think as I got into university, like university was quite a defining point for me, I would say. But like as I got into it, I think she started to see more of my sides come out that like shamelessly, is it shamelessly, I guess, or unapologetically me. Then she realized, okay, I can't really control her, and I should just trust what she does. To this day, I wouldn't say that she trusts me 100%, but I think I've shown her enough that like I can be out there and still do my own thing without the natural path that everyone wants to take, right? Or like, everyone wants their child to take. Yeah, so yeah, she was definitely the biggest like naysayer in my life. I think because I didn't have like so much support from my parents, because they're hesitant, even though they'll let me do whatever I do, but they're not gonna be like, yeah, we support you, that kind of parents. So I felt like I always just had myself to trust and also to rely on. Like it's a bad mindset, but I always like go back to like, okay, I only can rely on myself, to do things and then to make things happen for myself. So yeah, I guess it was pretty lonely, but I think you also have to have like a really really delusional sense of self-belief to kind of like just keep going without letting their words like take me down, or like maybe believing them too much that I'm not gonna go out of my comfort zone. Well, now I'm running a direct-to-consumer bridal boutique online called Bone and Grey. We specialize in minimalist wedding gowns that are quality but also affordable in pricing. So currently all of our wedding gowns are under $2,000 for purchase, but usually they start from $500, so it is quite affordable, and they're just like a good piece of wedding gown that you can wear and maybe also alter afterwards to change into something wearable on a daily basis. My mission for this when I started was because I couldn't find something that I wanted that was minimalist but also affordable, and I went around looking for gowns in different countries, and I just found that they were a bit non-transparent with the pricing and the gown selection in the bridal studios. So I decided to make this more accessible by making it e-commerce. How I landed here, super long story. I'll save it for another day, or you can message me afterwards and ask me. But I've always wanted to start something of my own, even from a young age. Like back in university, I helped out my friends' startups, or I joined a whole bunch of hackathons where you just have to come up with a product within 48 hours. I think those kind of challenges really excited me to build something. Like I'm definitely like a builder. So I knew at some point I would start my own business, but what it was or if I had enough experience is really like I really didn't know. So I think how this came to be is after working in a few startups and corporate life, I was so jaded and so burnt out that I decided to take a break. And then during that year of break, I ventured out into many different kinds of things. I tried many different things, like even Twitch streaming, teaching yoga, becoming like an actress. And I felt like those things were not scalable because the main person doing it is me. So in order to build a scalable business, I needed to not be the product. Yeah, and then that kind of led me to e-commerce and then my own wedding. Then it became wedding gowns. Yeah. I'm definitely a very go-getter kind of person. So if I set my mind to something, I will definitely do it. Like you can't stop me, that kind of person, which goes back to my, childhood stubbornness. I think a lot of times it's like trying to prove somebody wrong. That also fuels my ambition. In the beginning of life, it was proving my mom wrong, right? So that would like fuel a lot of my doings. And I think as that happens, then you become more confident in like yourself because all the stuff that you said you were going to do, you achieved or you did it. So that builds more confidence. Then the next time I'm trying to take a risk on something, I believe in myself. And I know that it will work out some way or another. Definitely, there was a lot of maybe naysayers about starting your own business, and then starting a wedding gown business even. I felt like people didn't really understand the concept of what I'm trying to do and also the potential of the business. So I think a lot of that I really had to push down to the back of my head and not listen to those and just put my head in and work on the business until it got to a certain point where I felt like really proud of it, and the people start to see that I was everywhere, getting partners and then working with bridal studios in Vancouver. So I think that also show people that there is potential and that, oh wow, like it's not just a passion side project, it's really like a full-fledged business now. I think I don't think like criticisms are very in your face in Asia, you know? Maybe behind the scenes they'll like, you know, say a few things, but at the end of the day, I think as long as you focus on yourself and where you're going and you believe in it, I truly believe that, you know, it can work out. It just maybe a bit of luck, maybe a bit of, you know, like a big break, for example. But financially, I also have to be realistic about, you know, starting a business and making sure that I had enough savings to bootstrap it from the get-go. And then once it starts making money, then I will reinvest it back into the business. That's a good question, because back in my 20s, I definitely define success as having a really good income. Maybe at the top of your company, like getting to, I don't know, director level or like even C-suite, and having a high income essentially, and living a good life. But I think that changed a lot ever since I, you know, let go of my career once I took a break, because that was a huge deal for me. I definitely define myself a lot on my career. When that was gone, who am I? You know, who am I? So I think that was a lot of self-discovery and like reassuring myself that I can make it out in this world. So now I define success as having flexibility in your time and money. And also being able to do what you want to do, but still having, you know, like the money to support you. Of course, in the beginning phases of this business, it's tough. Like it's still tough and you have to hustle. However, in the future, the success would definitely be me having this business and still being able to explore other hobbies on the side, but also living a life of flexibility and, you know, enjoying life as well. Yeah, so life to me is still important and number one. Like what is that? I work to live and not live to work.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, great. Okay, thanks.